Hello all and welcome to Fox 10 News Now. I'm Kinsey Schofield bringing you the 6:30 to 9 edition of the show. As I'm sure you're aware, we had a crazy high-speed car chase today. Let's show you some of that. I hate to use the word highlights. Thankfully, no one was injured. But let's show you some of the footage we have from earlier today. And then I am going to take you to a press conference that just took place on Mill Avenue where officers described the incident in full. So, not the right. There we go. And you can hear the helicopter. You can hear Skyfox in the background. This is on Mill. You can see the purple car swerving in and out of traffic. I mean, I believe that's a bicycle lane that the person is driving in. They're on Mill. Here's where the driver narrowly misses a stop stick. Wow. Here's some footage from the Tempe Town Lake Bridge. So pretty much absolute chaos at approximately 4:30, close to 5, when this chase was taking place. And then here I have for you the press conference that just took place in regards to this high-speed car chase. And I'm going to play some of this for you now so that we are all caught up on what happened earlier today on Mill Avenue.
Who am I talking to? Talk in the middle. Oh, great. I need somebody to talk to. You can look at me. I'm looking at you. Boy, and I don't have a lot. I don't have this. Hey, Mike, do we have suspect info? Because I don't.
Hey, Joe. Can I get a mic, please?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Anybody else?
An audio, Joe?
Yeah. Lights? Good to go.
Good.
Good. What's that, Mike? No? Okay. I don't have suspect info. What are we doing? Anybody?
What happened?
Okay. Ready? First name's Joe, last is Favazzo, F-A-V-A-Z-Z-O, Sergeant, Chandler Police, Media Relations. About 3:30 this afternoon at the National Bank of Arizona at Kyrene and Chandler Boulevard, a suspect walked inside, demanded money, and said that he had a firearm. Once leaving the bank, that suspect got into a purple Chrysler Sebring. It's not a real common car. It's not a real common color. So well within 4 minutes, our first patrol officer spotted that vehicle in Chandler. Our officer attempted to make a traffic stop on that vehicle along with another officer. At some point during this, there was an exchange of gunfire, I have just been told. Suspect fired several rounds at our officers. One of our officers did return fire. No one was hit. A couple of our patrol vehicles did receive bullet strikes. From there, the suspect fled. We followed. We requested assistance from the Arizona Department of Public Safety, the Phoenix Police Department, Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, eventually also including Tempe PD. We followed the vehicle as it got on I-10 and started westbound on I-10 all the way towards 7th Avenue. That vehicle exited somewhere in that area and started back towards Phoenix. It came back down through near Sky Harbor Airport where the vehicle got on Washington Street, and then I believe traveled down Washington to Mill, ended up here. This vehicle was being trailed and tracked the entire time by Phoenix Police Department's.
What makes a great family plan?
A lot of data.
How about 4 lines with unlimited talk and text? And
keep an eye on that vehicle, which allowed the ground units.
That was my screw up, sorry. We're going to go back so you can hear.
Towards Phoenix. It came back down through near Sky Harbor Airport where the vehicle got on Washington Street, and then I believe traveled down Washington to Mill, ended up here. This vehicle was being trailed and tracked the entire time by Phoenix Police Department's air unit. That air unit was able to keep an eye on that vehicle, which allowed the ground units to stay back so that we didn't see any high-speed pursuits. We're very thankful again that no officers or citizens were injured in that gunfire exchange, and furthermore, no one was injured in this pursuit or chase. So, very thankful to that police helicopter being able to keep an eye for us. Once the suspect got in this area, the suspect got out of the car and started into this area on foot. Again, the Phoenix Police helicopter was able to, their air unit was able to give us an air or bird's eye view of what was happening and tell us where that suspect was at and where that suspect was going. That enabled our ground units, undercover officers and uniformed, to converge on this area and saturate this area. Here in this area, that suspect was confronted by officers, and the suspect surrendered without incident and was taken into custody.
Do you have a description so far? I know you don't have an ID.
I don't have any description on the suspect at this point. As soon as we get done here, I'll get all that information and get it to you.
Where were the shots fired? Do you have the cross reads on that?
I don't. I believe it was in Chandler, but I'm not sure at this point where that happened.
Was he solo by himself, or is there multiple people?
As far as I know, he was all alone in the vehicle.
Did he present a gun at the bank, or just that he had a gun?
No, I believe he just indicated that he was armed.
Do we know what kind of gun he was firing at?
I don't. That I don't know yet.
About how many officers in total do you think were involved in all this?
Oh, I couldn't even at this point begin to guess. Now, as of right this moment, you have a multitude of officers and agencies. We have detectives at the bank working with forensics units at the bank and also interviewing victims there at the bank and witnesses. And then you have all of the officers that were involved as this traveled across from Chandler through Tempe, Phoenix, back into Tempe. So just a multitude of officers and agencies. Again, Arizona Department of Public Safety, Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, Phoenix PD, Tempe PD that I'm aware of, and Chandler are all involved in this.
When you're hearing that he's making a run towards the AMC Theater, goes inside the AMC Theater, I mean, you know he fired at officers, he's capable of doing a whole lot of damage. What are you thinking about?
Well, we're very much, the mission at that point is to get this person into custody as quickly as possible while we have eyes on, and that's what's important. When that helicopter's above, we really have a great, again, bird's eye view of what's happening, and that pilot is able then to direct the ground units into the area. So we're able to saturate.
From a law enforcement standpoint, you know, you've had theater shootings, you know the capability of the suspect, and since you guys have been chasing him. From a personal standpoint, what are you thinking about as a law enforcement officer that this is happening?
Well, you're very focused. You're focused on, I need to get this guy. I need to get this guy, and I need to stop this as quickly as possible. So, quite frankly, the focus is direct to threat. Those officers are going to go directly towards that suspect and confront that suspect.
Are you guys worried about a possible hostage situation?
Well, I think there's always the concern of what's going to happen next. So we had a suspect that was willing to shoot at police. We had a suspect that was willing to run from police and displayed absolute disregard for any public safety whatsoever, not only by shooting, but by in his mannerisms and driving. So once that person goes on foot and is headed to an area like this, of course we're concerned. We don't want him out of sight. We don't want him to get into the building. We don't want anything like that to happen. So, you know, to answer your question, the officers are very much laser focused on getting directly to that threat and stopping him.
You know what he had in his hand? Do you guys think it was a gun?
That I don't know yet. I've not had a chance to talk to detectives. I just got here and came straight over to speak with you.
Joe, were you guys concerned this could turn into a theater shooting?
I don't think that ever became a concern. You know, and again, I haven't really been able to speak with detectives. We don't believe that ever became a concern because we never really lost sight of this guy. We had an air unit on him. We had multiple ground units. There were undercover officers right here in the area. So knowing that we could stop him before he got inside or before he got in too deep, if he did get inside, was very important. So the fact that we were able to take him down outside, not allow him to get into any buildings, really just speaks volumes to that coordinated effort of the air unit and the ground units working together.
So he never did go inside the theater?
As far as I know, he did not. But again, I just got on scene, so.
Did he get away with any cash? If so, do you know how much?
I don't. And if he did, we wouldn't talk about it.
Thank you.
Okay? I'll grab some info and I'll get you guys all updated.
Thanks. So
I better wait. Thank you.
And again, that's in regards to this car chase we had earlier. Let's take, actually, I'm going to click out of it so I can resize something and show you some of these videos again. The stop stick is the craziest. We'll just revisit the stop stick video here. I just can't imagine. This car chase earlier today. Really? Is this real life? Let's get our News Now update from John Hook.
Facebook update. Police in Phoenix investigating a shooting near 72nd Avenue and Indian School. One person shot and killed, 3 friends, 18 to 19 years old, were home this morning. One of the teens told police he was manipulating a gun when it went off and hit one of the other teens. The victim's girlfriend says the 3 were all very good friends. Police believe this shooting was an accident, but they are investigating. Another big story this Monday, the Dow Jones Industrials dropped 1,000 points in the opening minute of the trading session. Concerns that a sharp slowdown in China could hurt economic growth around the globe. The market did rebound, closing down more than 500 points. People near Tucson are in danger of being evacuated as a wildfire grows in size. Lightning possibly touched it off. They're calling it the Ojo Blanco fire in the Sonoyta area. Activity started picking up yesterday afternoon on the eastern slope of Mount Fagan. So far, more than 1,600 acres have been lost. Deputies in Pima County are giving pre-evacuation notices to some people living near the fire. A group of riders known as the Patriot Guard riding across the country with the remains of 2 fallen service members. Those remains will be laid to rest in Arlington National Cemetery. The Patriot Guard has been honoring veterans with these rides for over 10 years. The riders left Mesa on Monday morning. They should get into D.C. on Sunday. A look at the 10-day forecast, a chance of scattered storms over the next few days. Temperatures near normal. Don't forget to check out our newly updated website, fox10phoenix.com. That's your Fox 10 Facebook update. I'm John Hook.
Thank you for being with us. We start tonight with a Fox 10 News alert. Police just caught a suspect who was possibly involved in an armed robbery at a Chandler bank. These are live pictures from Skyfox now at the scene where this pursuit came to an end near University and Mill.
Well, the suspect in a maroon sedan, a Sebring, tried to get away from police after that bank robbery in Chandler. Police were in hot pursuit, not too far behind him. And along the route, he tried to throw stuff out the window. May have been money, we don't know, contraband. And police tried to hit him with stop sticks, but to no avail.
Yeah, they didn't even really come close to the times they tried to get him with the stop sticks. The suspect took police on a wild ride, though, from Chandler through Tempe into central Phoenix. Again, the stop sticks didn't work. 3:30 this afternoon. Let's use our 3D mapping software to show you exactly where this happened. Started down here near Chandler Boulevard and Kyrene. You can see it right here. This is the bank where apparently the robbery happened. And then he took a very circuitous route all around the area down into near the airport and down into Tempe. And then he finally ended up being caught around this area here, right in downtown Tempe near the Center Point Theaters down there. And that's where those live pictures were coming from. Let's go ahead and show you some pictures now, John.
Yeah, if we've got those pictures, this is a scene. This is in this courtyard right there near the Center Point Theater if you've been in Tempe. And you know this area, and he was taken down apparently without incident after this long chase, as Troy described. And he was hell-bent on getting away from police, but in the end, fortunately, it ended peacefully. He gave up with very little resistance, and you could see all the commotion right there in that courtyard.
And that's, you know, a very, very crowded part of that Mill Avenue area. And right. A movie theater, and, you know, that's the last thing you want is somebody armed running into a movie theater. Exactly.
And we know he was armed because there were shots fired during this chase. So it was a very dangerous situation for a time, but fortunately ended peacefully in Tempe, roughly around the area of Mill and Ash at that Center Point Theater. Everybody's okay. Suspect in custody. More news.
I don't know. I'm assuming you haven't, but there's an employee here named Martine, and the Pokemon story is seriously frightening. That some of these individuals were planning on attacking a Pokemon championship conference. I have the story, and then we're going to talk to Martine. I don't even know what his official title is here at Fox 10, but I know that he's one of my favorite people. I should ask more questions, but he's going to talk to us about what the process is like to participate in something like that, that'll be an interesting conversation. He told me he'd be back in approximately 15 minutes, so let's bet on 20 or 30. But I look forward to having that conversation with him because he is very interesting and animated. He's quite a character. Let's check out some more local headlines.
So when it comes to license plates, ADOT drivers in Arizona have a few more choices when it comes to license plates. ADOT releasing 4 new specialty plates. They're $25 a year and $50 if you want to personalize them, and $17 goes to charity. So among them, this one right here, Arizona Coyotes. The money raised will go to the Arizona Coyotes Foundation. Funds raised by Midwestern University plates will go to support scholarships for students studying health sciences there. Another specialty plate honors the U.S. Marine Corps. And the money raised there will go to award scholarships to children of Marines and Navy corpsmen who were killed or wounded in combat. And then funds for the firefighter safety training license plate will provide scholarships for firefighter training. There's your 4 new plates.
Wow, a lot of choices in Arizona, Troy. The
Yeah,
only
4
downside,
more on top of it.
well, no, and it's good. There is the only downside is that sometimes there's so many of these plates. People are sometimes confused after a crime as to what plate they saw in a car. It's hard to kind of figure it out. That's the only kind of.
You trying to bum me out? I mean, those are 4 nice plates there.
But we got a lot of plates out there. That's all I can say.
That's a good
All right,
point.
coming up tonight at 5.
That's such a good point. And then that's like the second time Troy's done that today, where somebody has been just like dropped a reality bomb on the room, and Troy's like, okay, buzzkill. But that's a very good point that John Hook made. The more license plates they make, the more difficult it's going to be to spot one if there's ever an issue. Although Rachel is pretty excited about the Coyotes plates. Rachel, I give that to you. You deserve that. You should get a Coyotes plate.
So people are casting ballots in a mayor's race, city council seats, 4 ballot measures, including a big one. Proposed $31 billion transportation plan that includes expanding the city's light rail line. Voting started on Saturday and wraps up tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. City clerk's office is getting a lot of phone calls about people knocking on doors asking to pick up ballots. That's not against the law, but there are some things that you should watch for. Jessica Flores is live with the story. So are these people necessarily doing anything wrong, Jess?
Right, it's not voter fraud. Everything's completely legal. And this is we're here at City Hall, and this is where voters have been coming all day casting their ballots. But at the same time, there are organizations going out into the community, going door to door, and they're asking people to give them their ballots. They say that they could collect ballots on their behalf, and that is completely legal. Now, we did talk to a city spokesperson to try to clear some of this confusion up. And I want to go through some of the things that people need to know. They say that canvassers cannot represent themselves as city officials and that the city will never go door to door to pick up ballots. The canvasser can suggest ways to vote. They can also help residents fill out their ballots, but they must sign an affidavit envelope indicating they assisted the voter with the ballot. The canvasser can even ask how those residents voted. Of course, voters do not have to disclose that information. The city has a suggestion, though. Their suggestion is that voters do not give their ballots to people that they do not know or that they do not trust. Take a listen.
We have received several calls from citizens that have expressed some concern about people coming by to pick up their ballots. They mainly want to know whether it was legal to do that, and it is actually legal. People can go out and try to pick up ballots from other people. We do encourage voters to give their ballots to people they know and trust to get them in.
Right, and the city has 29 voting centers throughout the city, and voters can go to any one of those centers to drop off their ballots. The city must receive all ballots by 7 p.m. tomorrow. Reporting live in Phoenix, I'm Jessica Flores, Fox 10 News.
And a special request from Ale this evening. Ale wants to go over the weather. So let me send you straight to our weather forecast.
AccuWeather forecast with Dave Muncie on Fox 10 News.
Pace and high today in the 90s, about 95, I believe, and the temperature right now 70 degrees. So, yeah, that rain is doing its job up there. Hey, we can see the city here, a little haze coming over it. The rain hasn't made it, but there's some out there. We will show you in just a moment what we're talking about. Temperature 105 right now, a few clouds, got winds west at 6, 55 degrees on the dew point, 19% on the humidity. And as we get you a look at it, these numbers are up. Fountain Hills at 108, 101 at Cave Creek, 103 in Scottsdale, in Chandler 104, in Glendale 106 degrees right now. You can see the low pressure welcoming in the moisture, the high pressure kind of helping with that as well. That high is weakening. It's moving a little bit more to the east as we speak, and you can see here the showers been lining up, and those showers are moving southward at this time. We have been seeing this development through the day today, and with that there have been a lot of very, very active storms out there. Near Strawberry, we had a pretty good storm. Yavapai County has had a few warnings as well. 108 degrees for the high today, 105 in Scottsdale, 104 at Deer Valley. In Luke, or at Luke, we have 105. 115 is the record, 104 is the normal high temperature. Other numbers that we have for you: in Flagstaff 84, 105 at Gila Bend, at Safford 98, 95 at Winslow today. At Page it was 99 degrees. Take a look here. This is the normal line. It runs from 104 to 103 degrees over the 10-day period. Yeah, we just kind of arc right over the top of it here. We're always a couple of degrees away through that entire period. 108 on the high today, 88 on the low, 104 and 82, normal high and low. Record high 115, record low at 61. Across the country, actually not a bad day today. You can see some active weather in the west and across the Great Lakes, where they saw rain showers through the day today, kind of cooling things off. Rest of the country had a scattered storm here and there, but all in all, not a bad day all the way across the country. The Southwest actually getting hit some of the hardest. One look at the evening forecast: 87 degrees, chance of rain. That chance of rain increases tomorrow, and we can see the temperature reacting to that. 104 on Wednesday, 105 on Thursday. Yep, slow warming trend for you. By Saturday, 109 degrees, stays there a couple of days, and then it backs off just a little. Watch your kids around water.
Thank you. Young woman accused of a terrible crime, in trouble for allegedly conning veterans. And police didn't have to go far to find Charlize Zeitner either, because she was already in jail, accused of faking that she had cancer. Linda Williams is live now with more on the story. Linda?
Troy, she's accused of faking cancer so the state of Arizona would pay for a late-term abortion. Now, she allegedly did this in 2010, but she wasn't arrested on charges until this past June. While in jail on the faked abortion charges, the Attorney General's office started investigating and says they discovered another scheme of Zeitner's, one that involved ripping off veterans' charities, one based. She may look harmless in her mugshot, but Charlize Zeitner is accused of being a cool, calculating con woman who stole from veterans across the country.
Well over $27,000.
Michael Faccaretto of VetTix, a veterans organization in Phoenix that connects veterans and wounded warriors to tickets for events around the country. It also fulfills wishes to wounded veterans and families of the fallen. In 2012, Faccaretto says Zeitner, who said she was with a group called Veterans Hope, approached him about a gala fundraiser she was organizing in Washington, D.C. The beneficiary would be the Veteran Tix organization.
A fundraiser where we were, when she was talking about $150,000 being raised and being donated to Veteran Tickets Foundation and Heroes Wish program, it was a no-brainer.
Faccaretto says Zeitner told him she was representing a respected charity called Veterans Hope. She's now accused of stealing identities from people who work at Veterans Hope. As Veterans Day 2012 approached, things started to unravel, and Faccaretto says they realized they had been scammed.
And we prepaid for all of our rooms through a website that she created, and seats, all the seats around the table, paid for all those, paid for flight tickets for all the board of directors and everybody to go out there.
Zeitner was jailed last June on fraud charges surrounding the fake cancer claims. Just last week, Arizona's Attorney General announced 8 new felony charges against Zeitner, including money laundering, theft, and fraudulent schemes, all related to the veterans' charities.
If you add it up together, we're talking about a very significant period of time, up to 40, 50 years. Possibly.
Zeitner is due back in court September 24th for another initial pretrial conference. As for all the money that Vet Ticks organization lost, they were able to recover some of it through the fraud protection on their credit cards, but most of it is just gone. Reporting live, I'm Linda Williams, Fox 10 News.
Horrible story, and you have to, and I know Samia talked to Linda earlier, so I should probably tune in. I'll go back and watch it, but I imagine as a reporter to cover a story like this, it has to be very frustrating, and it has to be, I mean, you're supposed to keep your composure, and you're supposed to, I don't know, I would just have a hard time. It's just a horrible story, and vets are very special people, so I would have a very hard time covering that story without getting upset myself. Here's a sweet story. Let's go to a happier one. Spontaneous triplets. It's an actual thing. Who knew?
Fertility treatments are often linked to multiple births. So a Valley couple was very surprised to learn that they were having triplets because they weren't doing any of that stuff. They weren't receiving any treatments. This was au naturel. The cute little triplets making an early arrival this week at Scottsdale Shea Medical Center. Proud parents Allie and Dave Munsell had no family history of multiples and no fertility treatments.
Spontaneous triplets is what they call it. That's definitely what it was. Spontaneous.
That's Teddy on the left, Hunter in the middle, each one nearly 5 pounds. Delaney's on the right, a bit smaller at just over 4 pounds.
When we went in for the first ultrasound and saw 3 little jelly beans, we were pretty shocked.
The new mom says carrying the babies became a challenge at about 28 weeks.
I could kind of tell who was who. I would get like hiccups on one side, or I'd get kicked on the other side, and I would be like, oh, Teddy's got the hiccups again.
All of them delivered Monday by C-section after 34 weeks, a bit premature. Doctors say with multiples, there's a greater chance of delivering early.
Unfortunately for them, they've been very, very healthy. The 2 little girls eat a little bit better than the little guy.
It's funny seeing friends of ours that are having 1 baby at a time, and it's like, that's kind of weird. It's not very efficient, is it?
The Munsells adore these little guys, but are they ready to be on call 24/7?
We're as prepared as we think we need to be. Obviously, that doesn't really mean much. They're still here. Once they come home, that'll be when things go a little nuts.
Dave even bought a minivan for the new arrivals.
Everyone's like, oh, are these your first kids? We're like, yes, and they are our last.
Thankfully, a Valley community of parents with multiples offering support and valuable tips to this happy family. So cool. All 3 are doing very, very well, expected to be home by the end of this weekend.
We're sending them lots of positive vibes.
Absolutely.
That's such a sweet story. But I also heard Carrie on it, I think. Was that Carrie I heard? Maybe another female. Interesting. Who was that female that we heard on the side? Oh, maybe it was Linda. She was on set today.
RV park upset with a new neighborhood recycling plant that moved in last year. They say the plant stinks. It is just terrible, the smell coming out of there, and it's making people feel sick. Today, they turned over a petition with more than 100 signatures asking the city to make that plant move out. Nicole Garcia has the story tonight.
This recycling plant has been here at this location near 23rd Avenue in Deer Valley for less than 2 years. The RV park across the street has been there for nearly 5 decades. Today, residents turned in petitions to City Hall asking city leaders to deny the plant a permit. Residents at this Northwest Phoenix RV park are not happy with their new neighbor, Green Earth Recycling. The plant makes mulch, but residents say in the process it's making a huge stench that they can't stand.
To me, it is spicy and comes in my nose, in my nostrils, and goes down my throat scratchy. It's not a trash smell. It's not a garbage smell. It's truly something that with a mulch bed is composting, and things are changing dramatically, and it becomes really pretty smelly.
The city must decide whether or not to issue a temporary use permit to Green Earth Recycling, which would allow them to operate in this location for another 3 years. Nearly a dozen complaints have been filed with the county. Monday, Bryn delivered a petition to City Hall with more than 150 signatures asking the city to deny the permit with the hopes of forcing the plant to relocate.
We've been there for 45 years. Perfectly happy.
She says in the winter the park is full with about 1,000 people, but now many snowbirds might not be returning because of the smell.
We are not bothering anybody. We're contributing to the economy, if you will, and this is going to cause people to leave. What will that do to us? Worst case would be we'd end up closing.
The owner of this recycling plant declined to comment on this story. The hearing to determine whether or not the plant will get a temporary use permit is on September 3rd. I'm Nicole Garcia, Fox 10 News.
Well, a very special journey for 2 Arizona veterans. Their remains are being escorted to Washington, D.C. for proper burial at Arlington National Cemetery. Now, this ride covers thousands of miles, and as you can see, east to west, a bunch of stops in between. Several stops on the journey where the new riders will join in. So by the time the group reaches Arlington, thousands of riders will have taken part in this.
Well, he was loved, and he was 100% Marine, and very proud of that. And he was proud of the work that he did here.
Jim Fuller's wife meeting with Patriot Guard riders ready to escort her late husband's remains to Washington, D.C. It's a journey Jim helped coordinate for hundreds of veterans while working for the Missing in America Project. It's an organization dedicated to giving vets honorable burials.
There are veterans out there who are laying in mortuaries who have never been claimed, and they've never had an honorable burial.
The remains of World War II veteran Mildred Rudy Kennedy will also be escorted to Arlington. Her ashes have been held at a Valley mortuary for more than 20 years. The group is hoping to reach Arlington on Sunday. Fuller's remains will be escorted by his best friend.
He was always scared to death of motorcycles. He would sit on them, but he would never ride. He requested that his last ride be on my bike, and I promised him that it would be. It's a great honor for me to carry him from here to Arlington National Cemetery on my bike.
Fuller died in February. His friends and family wanted to honor him with a burial at Arlington. His wife Marilyn says she will be there to honor a man who helped so many.
Wonderful. Everybody loved him. Everybody. There was nobody who didn't. He was wonderful. And that's not just his wife talking.
If you want more information about the Missing in America Project, we have a link on our website, fox10phoenix.com. Just click on Seen on TV.
It wasn't. Well, I refer to you as my martini, but tell everyone who you really are and what you do, because I actually don't know what your title is here.
Oh, I'm Martin. I'm a director for Fox 10 Phoenix. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for having me.
You are really one of my favorite humans in the world. Do you know this?
Just found out. Blushing.
Are you blushing? Okay, put this in your face, in your ear, this way, and you and I are going to watch this Pokemon story.
Ooh, feedback.
Whoa. Whoa. Put it in your ear, and you and I are going to watch this Pokemon story, and then we are going to talk about it. You're not really a Pokemon expert. I gave you... Well, I was trying to make you look important, because we're friends.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, okay. Hold on.
I don't know what to say about it, because it's just...
Outrageous.
Outrageous, audacious, and ultimately foiled. Boston police and other law enforcement agencies thwart a violent plot against a most unlikely target. The Pokemon World Championships held this weekend at the Heinz Convention Center. It's a story Fox 25 broke on our news app this afternoon.
There's hundreds and hundreds of kids here, and it's terrible. I mean, you don't really know what's going to happen when you go out in public anymore.
Boston police tell Fox 25 they were tipped to the plot late last week by security personnel at the Heinz who had learned of threats made over social media. In a statement, the Massachusetts Convention Center Authority, which runs the Heinz, says they worked with Boston police to take immediate steps to resolve the issue. One of those immediate steps, the two suspects were stopped at the door. They were questioned by police and then released, but a subsequent search of their vehicle turned up firearms, a hunting knife, and hundreds of rounds of ammunition. The two men, both from Iowa, were arrested at a Saugus hotel.
Top 8, please report to your player.
The Pokemon World Championships is a family event with participants as young as 6 years old.
It's the one time where everyone from the world gets together and celebrates everything Pokemon.
Pika Pika!
That celebration went on.
I won 6th place at the juniors.
Nefarious plans notwithstanding.
The energy here is just wonderful, and so to hear that somebody wants to kind of, destroy that it's I don't like that.
All right.
All right. So, I mean, all kidding aside, that is a horrible situation.
Indeed.
There was and I have video of the two guys. I might actually not have the video of the two guys, but
Right.
Explain to us what Pokemon is, and the reason I am actually having you do this is because this place, it does attract young kids,
Yeah.
and this, if you explain, maybe people will understand the type of people that are attracted to these events. What is this event? What are you doing? What do you win?
Yeah, well, the cartoon itself appeals to kids. Appealed to me when I was younger. It's been on the air. I think it still is.
Yeah, I think it is too.
Since the early 90s, late 90s. I mean, I enjoyed the game itself too. It's a trading card game. Imagine that they were going to. The convention also hosted a tournament. So kids who are getting into it, as well as the game has been around for a while, adults, all play in the same venue. I imagine those suspects or whoever caused the threat were adults, right?
Yeah, they looked like they were young adults.
Yeah.
But they looked like the typical, I don't want to say nerdy, but they were definitely not popular individuals. They had that essence about them that they were excluded a lot.
Yeah, like this is a hobby, this game. A lot of people will focus so much attention that they detach themselves from leaving the room. That's what people say, like, "Well, get out of your mom's basement," and they joke around about that. The thing is, these kids are in their room, like, for days at a time, building decks or collecting cards or on the internet, and also connecting and networking with other people who share this hobby. So, the event itself, it went through. And I'm happy it did. So many kids are going to be there. Nobody got hurt. Shouts out to the Boston Police Department for that.
I know. And if you're gonna
foil it,
if you want to do something like that, you don't put it on the freaking internet. You don't put it on social media. And thankfully they did, because they were caught and they couldn't go through with it. But it just seems like what an idiotic thing to actually put it on social media.
Yeah, really. It was either a call for attention. They were joking about it, whatever. But still, it's going to be taken very seriously, because now, any threat like that, like you see the events in Paris or in France.
Yeah.
You had, a guy who had a gun and would have acted on it, and had enough for somebody to foil his plans, people would have been hurt.
Right.
And, these tragedies are going to occur because people just feel like they can get out and do this and have their names be glorified.
Yeah, they think that they're going to be famous, I guess. Yeah. Well, I do think, and after a while I tried to participate in the no notoriety in regards to the James Holmes trial. The victims begged them to do the no notoriety. I've tried to participate in that as much as possible, but sometimes it's hard not to put their name or face out there.
It is. But you don't want to, because it gets the attention of that bad crowd, the people who
are attracted to that.
Just have these tendencies that are no good, and they'll act on it. It's like, listen, this person, is on the news every night, and I want to be that guy.
Ugh. So gross.
It is gross.
Do
It's
you
very disgusting.
do you graduate from Pokemon onto something else, or do adults still play Pokemon? Because there were so many, like just in those in that B-roll we saw,
Right.
there was a variation of age groups.
Yeah, the game's been around for that long. There are other games too that are that format, that card format. Magic, for example, I play currently. In fact, I'll probably join my coworker on my lunch break and play a game too.
Is
Vanguard,
it the coworker that I like looking at?
Yeah, he's around there somewhere.
How fun.
Is he watching right now?
Probably not. That's so fun. Yeah, no, I think that's interesting, and
Right.
I'm glad that those children are safe. And I wish I could graduate, with my Barbies, but that's just weird.
Yeah.
And I will say too, just to further embarrass my brother, one time when we lived in Hot Springs, Arkansas, found a song that my 28-year-old brother, he was not 28 at the time,
Right.
but my little brother wrote about Pokemon.
He did.
And I made him cry
I love
because he
Pokemon.
was so embarrassed that I found his song that he wrote about.
No shame, buddy.
Yeah, you fight on.
I used to draw Pokemon. I used to adore collecting the cards, and I don't play it anymore. But
And you're not actually an expert, but you're an expert to me.
no, thank you.
All right, you can leave me now. Thank you for spending time with me.
I have to go.
No, do you want to watch some more stuff? Like we can
Yes, I
watch.
can listen to this video again.
Actually, I do have more, so I'll play this while
It's
so you
bored
can,
already.
No, I mean so you can comfortably leave, so they didn't have to see your exit.
Oh.
So see, it's called a transition director.
Oh, okay.
So then you get up and.
There's no red light. There's no tally light for me here.
You know what? I'm not familiar with what Iowa's gun laws are. So whether they had them legally in Iowa, I don't know. But when they made the threats and then they brought them with them here, they were again, they're violating the law. So. Yeah. The back and forth was between competitors. So these two you have to qualify to make the world tournament. These two individuals qualified so that they were going to be in competition at the event with the people that they were threatening. When you evaluate the potential of what could have happened, that could have been a mass shooting. So naturally, the federal agencies would be concerned with that. So, and we work closely with them on matters like this, so they were brought into it. Well, like I said, we felt comfortable that we had mitigated the threat of the weapons they had come up with. They are not going to get a weapon here, and we knew where they were staying, so we had a comfort level with that. Well, again, you never know what's in someone's mind. Again, we went by the words that they used and the weapons that they flashed on social media, and then the weapons that they brought up here. The same people who said the things they said brought the weapons that they said they were going to use, and then they were here. So we mitigated a potential tragedy. You never know, were they actually going to do it or not? Thank God we don't know that.
And so, actually, if you give me a second, I have to reorganize. When I have somebody sit next to me, I have to readjust the camera and everything so that we all fit and it looks nice. So I'm going to readjust just for me. And I appreciate those of you that were kind to Martini. And yeah, that was a press conference in regards to the Pokemon conference. I will, Rachel, thank you. I will tell Martin that. So yeah, no, I appreciate everybody that was kind and asked intelligent questions throughout that. Oh, this is a story that'll get you riled up, as these stories typically do. Absolutely no excuse. No excuse to ever leave your child in a hot car.
Infants are left in cars while parents go shopping. We have covered stories where infants are left in cars while parents go shopping, but tonight, a new twist to that.
Employees of a Gilbert hair salon find a baby that was forgotten in a shopping cart. Steve Kraft joins us live now with more on what happened here. Steve.
This is an incredible story. Stylists at the Supercuts near Higley and Pecos Roads found the baby inside a shopping cart, still strapped into its car seat. Turns out Mom and 2 other children had been shopping at the nearby Fry's, and Mom forgot to place the baby back into the car when they were leaving. Gilbert police say it took the mother about 40 minutes to realize what she'd done. She returned to the Fry's very upset and panicking.
I didn't think it was real. I mean, I was like, no, this girl's crazy. No. I felt bad. At first, it kind of looked like I didn't know there was a baby in there. I was like, there's no way someone forgot a baby. Yeah, they forgot the baby for a while.
Well, the baby was not hurt and was reunited with Mom and Dad. Police say no charges are being filed. Reporting live, Steve Kraft, Fox 10 News.
The bleeding continues on Wall Street. The Dow Jones Industrial Average seeing its biggest one-day point decline in history, down more than 1,000 points briefly in early trading before cutting those losses. Names you know and likely own, at least in a 401k, getting hit hard as well. In fact, almost half of the stocks in the Dow Industrials are down at least 20% from a recent high, some as much as 40%. This includes companies like Chevron, Caterpillar, Intel, ExxonMobil, Apple, and Disney.
Don't panic. This has been a process that's been long in coming. We've known for quite some time that the market was ripe for a pullback of some order.
Oil also making headlines, hitting yet another 6.5-year low in early trading, just above $37 a barrel, a level not seen since February of 2009.
We have not been here since the depths of the financial crisis. Right now, the market is reacting not so much to supply, but concerns about demand, concern about China, where most of the oil demand growth has been over the last decade or so. That's really being called into question.
The major questions surrounding all of this: when will the selling stop? What does it mean for the Fed? And when is it time to buy? For more on this and all of your top business stories, find Fox Business using the channel finder on foxbusiness.com. In New York, I'm Jerry Willis.
Officials say only a handful of homes have burned to the ground so far, but I've witnessed at least a dozen myself today. I spoke with one man who now has third-degree burns on his arms after he escaped the firestorm.
It's all over. It's bark or something. It's just...
Mark Desdier is a lucky man. He thought he was going to die here at Emerald Lake.
All these trees were on fire at the time, and it just blew up in here.
Oh, I hate when this happens, when I've got a video and I'm playing it and then I realize that it did not give me the entire video. That makes me unbelievably hostile, so I apologize. Apparently the story is that a man jumped into the lake to escape the wildfire. So, unfortunately, we are not going to have the visuals or the actual full-on package, so I apologize for that. Let's take it to Texas, and let me see if I have the full video here. Yes, here we go.
Suddenly,
you knew it was gonna go.
So suddenly.
You knew it was gonna go.
So many dreams.
He was happy to go to school.
Shattered.
He knew he was gonna go. There's no way in heck. He knew he's gonna go today. It's a better place.
Fighting back tears is a losing fight for Derek Al-Sharawi, trying to process the death of his 5-year-old son, Zachary.
Terrible. Very terrible. I don't know how I'm going to live.
Early Sunday afternoon, families say while they were setting up a swing set, Zachary slipped out of sight.
He got out from the garage door. He knows how to open it.
The 5-year-old with autism has disappeared before.
There's a pond up there. He goes and play in it and come back.
But after 15 minutes, the family didn't find him and called Burleson police. Officers as well as neighbors scoured the area looking for Zachary. Finally, 45 minutes later, discovering him in his mom's 1998 Ford Taurus that's always unlocked and parked out front.
I don't know why, for what reason, but he got in it.
Today was approximately 100 degrees at that time in a vehicle, and when we initially found the boy, he was warm. He was, sweating, so and unresponsive.
Police say Zachary could have been in that hot car for up to an hour. He was rushed to Cook Children's Hospital, where he died.
We couldn't possibly think he went inside of the car, and the car is unlocked, and it hasn't been driven for 3 months.
Because Zachary has autism, his father says he can't express himself or talk like the average 5-year-old. Families suspect that's why it took so long to find him.
If he was talking, he would have been able to holler or say something, but he couldn't.
Regardless of what happened and how it happened, the outcome is horrific.
As police look into possible charges, El Sharawi says his heart is shattered, with a big piece of it lost forever.
I believe in God, and that's His will. I cannot change that.
Beautiful little boy. And again, we can absolutely relate to stories like this coming out of Arizona, the 100 degrees in Texas that day, and that poor baby crawled into the car and could not get out. So it actually is such a devastating story. I don't know if you've heard this. They are actually, and this was, I believe, not Breitbart, The Blaze. The Blaze is reporting that there have actually now been 2 suicides related to the Ashley Madison hack. Let's get an update from Fox News National, but I thought that was fascinating and quite upsetting that there would be 2 suicides associated with this Ashley Madison hack.
The breach is extensive, affecting tens of millions of Ashley Madison clients. The full extent of the fallout, however, is still unknown. Canadian police say at least 2 suicides may be linked to the hack, and exposed clients are also dealing with other problems.
The ripple effect of the impact team's actions has and will continue to have a long-term social and economic impacts, and they have already sparked spin-offs of crimes and further victimization.
Hackers calling themselves the Impact Team, releasing personal information on the site's more than 30 million users last week. Emails from parent company Avid Life Media's CEO also made public. The Toronto-based organization now offering a $500,000 reward for any information leading to the arrest of those responsible.
This hack is one of the largest data breaches in the world, and is very unique on its own that it exposed tens of millions of people's personal information, including their credit card data.
The hack already linking to several prominent figures. An Associated Press investigation reveals federal employees accessed it using government internet connections. Florida State Attorney Jeff Ashton says he had a membership as well, but is not stepping down.
Did you have an affair?
No, I did not. I never met anybody in person. The entire thing was limited to the website itself.
The FBI has joined various Canadian police agencies in investigating the hack. In New York, David Lee Miller, Fox News.
I gotta change my lower third because my best friend has returned.
Wow, best friend.
Yeah.
Is that an upgrade?
No, you've always been so important to me.
I have food in my teeth. I just walked in from dinner.
I did pull a story for you today.
You did? What is it?
It's really sweet. It's about a 99-year-old golfer.
Oh, I like old golfers.
Because you're going to be one.
I know. I'm quickly getting to that point.
No.
Shot a 78 this weekend. It's pretty good.
A 78-year-old man? That sounds like an awful experience.
No, I shot 78 on the golf course.
Oh. But it was funny. That was a gun
9.
reference. I was joking. It was a joke.
Oh, I see.
Like I shot a 78. Oh, a man? But bum.
No, I get it.
Oh.
Hi, it's good to see you.
It's good to see you. Guess who I had up here? Martin. Director Martin.
Oh, why?
Don't say it like that. I had him up here because there was the Pokemon conference story, and you know, he plays card games with people we know in this building.
You're over that person though, aren't you? Is it over?
Yes.
Mr. X?
Yes. But
should we out him then? Should we say who he is?
No, because he's a very private person.
Oh.
And he's still handsome, so you never know. It's always nice to have some backups.
Okay.
But yes, so Martin talked to us about what Pokemon was and what the process was and what the event was.
And was any of that interesting at all?
He actually made it really interesting because he's such a good, funny character, you know? You've talked to him before.
I don't know.
He makes me laugh so hard. He walked up to me the other day, and I was on, and he walked up and he was like, "Are you on?" And I said, something's playing. Why? And he said, I think I have a crush on the AT&T girl. And I said, let's create an online campaign. We can make this happen. You know that cute little girl from the AT&T commercials?
I don't.
Well, I was like, well, I actually got the T-Mobile girl to respond to me on Twitter because I was her for Halloween one year. So I was like, let's start a campaign. Let's get the
Who's the T-Mobile girl? Like the only one I know on the cell phone commercials is the one who's always in the smock. Oh no, that's insurance.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So I was like, we get Progressive.
Yeah.
Marge or whatever her name is.
And I actually, oh, yeah.
What's her name? Is it Marge?
No, it's something. No. Oh yeah, everybody's so excited to see. Whoa.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh,
Okay,
it's been a
so
while.
do you want to watch the 99-year-old man together?
No, I want to know more about who is this AT&T. Can we pull up a picture of her? Do I know who this person is?
She's super cute.
She is super cute?
Mm-hmm.
AT&T girl is what you search?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she
Actually,
cute.
I do not like...
Is that her?
I do not like Yahoo's search engine, so let's go. No offense. It's alleged. Whoa.
That's not her, is it?
Yeah, it is. She didn't look like that in those commercials, though. Hey. Can we just see? So this is the T-Mobile girl.
Oh, yeah.
You remember her. So I
do like her. Where's she been? Are you going to put her up for everybody, or are we going to watch our own?
It's
you
more...
gotta like everybody in on it.
I mean, like, I feel like it's special when it's just us, but fine. We can include
Well, no,
everyone.
but when we're talking about these things...
Well, I forget. I'm glad
See?
you're here
There you
because
go.
I forget. So this is the T-Mobile girl.
I remember her.
And
She was super cute. And then she had a good run, but I haven't seen her in forever.
You know what? I bet she was a lot of money, and I bet they thought that's cheaper just to...
How much money could she be?
Well,
I mean, like, what is she doing now?
Nothing.
Yeah, it can't be that much money.
I need... Oh, here she is. There she
Although
is.
they do
dressed as
well.
the AT&T girl.
You know, I used to do commercials when I was a little kid.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Troy, you can't tell us these things.
I did commercials. My mom was a model.
My mom was a model.
She was.
I bet she was because you're so handsome. I bet you look like
Thank
your
you.
mom.
She was. She pimped me out when I was little to make money, and so I was in.
This is the AT&T girl. She's cute.
Oh, she is cute.
Can't you see Martin with her?
Yeah, she's kind of nerdy, like him. At least in that picture. But you showed me the other one. The other picture, what she's really like when you see her outside of the AT&T store.
You're just like, hey, girl.
No, but I did a couple commercials. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you a quick story. So, I did a commercial for Safeway, and
Wait,
there was a
so
fake Santa.
I thought Safeway was only...
West Coast.
Oh.
Yeah. This is in Sacramento, California.
Okay.
And so he had like this fake sleigh, and I was an elf, and I was all dressed up like an elf, and I had a speaking line. This is back in the 70s, and the commercials were just terrible.
Oh, this is
It
great.
was like early 70s.
Did your mom not record it?
No, record it. There's no VCRs in like 1971. I was like 5 years old. And so I go running into the sleigh, and I jump in the back of the sleigh, and I think I said something like, Santa, can I have a pound of the jelly beans?
And you had that little voice, too.
Bang. Nailed it.
Nailed it.
But the commercial that I was most known for when I was 5 years old in Sacramento was there was a radio station that was all, it was either jazz or it was classical. It must have been classical. But they had me all dressed in a tux. I had to come in a tux.
You had a little kid tux.
I had a little kid tux. And I was a conductor. They had me walk up and go like tick, 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 and then start doing the thing. That was like the whole commercial.
Oh, man.
But my mom, who was young back then anyway, but she didn't realize that they were going to take like a whole body shot. So I had this tux on, but she didn't rent me shoes. And I had old beat up tennis shoes on.
Well, that's almost cuter, right?
So they ended up taking the full, they loved it. It took the whole thing. And then for years afterwards, I mean like until I was a teenager, there were billboards all around town of a cartoon of me as a 5-year-old in a tux with my tennis shoes on. You know, that was like the insignia of the station.
So was it a cartoon because they didn't want to pay you to come in and take another picture, or they didn't want to pay you for the billboard campaign?
I think the cartoon was just cuter than the real life, or it was easier to put. I don't know. Yeah, probably because they didn't want to pay me.
Yeah, that's sad. But that's also...
cheap SOBs.
That's so cool. I wish you had pictures and stuff.
I know. Well, things just weren't documented then like they are now.
I know.
That's the whole thing. It's like, you know...
Now we're like, let me take a picture of my lasagna.
Oh, every time my kid blinks, I've got it on camera. you know, but not us. Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Nothing has lived. I should look it up on maybe somebody put it on YouTube somewhere.
Yeah, because it's not, because a lot of times companies too will find that historic stuff and go, oh, this is cool, we'll upload it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, but back in those days, I mean, they probably I wonder if they even shot it on videotape. It may have been shot on film, you know, and then who's going to archive it or where are we going to put it? But
that's so cool. We didn't even
fun.
know that you had this Hollywood past.
And then, could go to my childhood, fast forward till I'm in 4th grade, and my stepdad at the time was working at Cron as the weekend news anchor.
He was also on 90210.
He went to L.A. and was a news anchor there for a while and ended up on 90210, which I don't even remember. They must have just taken like a shot of him doing something.
I just saw it on IMDb. You didn't tell me, I told you.
Yeah, well, no, I knew that he was there. But they had something called Kids Watch, and it was a kids news show. And I anchored that for like a year, 6 months or a year.
You
So I
had
was
this
like a
great
news
little
anchor at
life. Who knew
4th
how
grade.
cool you were?
That wasn't very cool. But I do remember hanging out with a lot of those kids, and they were all like drama kids, and we all went to Marriott's together, like Marriott's Great America. I'm just like a normal kid, and I'm with all these drama kids.
Yeah.
We got to go on the Ferris wheel. I'm like, okay.
We have to update your Wikipedia page because none of your Wikipedia page says nothing about it. It's just like Emmy, hot wife, Emmy.
What? How can you improve on that? That sounds pretty good to me.
Well, you've got such a fascinating background. These are the things that we need to know. These are the special moments.
It's interesting when you look back on your life and you see the road that you've traveled, and you don't always, you can never totally plan it out, but especially in those early days of your life, each of those little stops dropped something into you that made you what you became, you know?
But did you realize when you were sitting there doing that News Kids program that one day you might actually do that as a grown-up and really enjoy it?
It was the absolute last thing I ever wanted to do, because my stepdad, and if you don't care, please let me know, but this is another personal story. He was always chasing a star. He was always trying to get to the next biggest job, and to him it was always about, I'm working weekends at Cron, but I want to be a weeknight anchor. So I hadn't even started this, but I mean, we'd been in New Orleans already and then came back to San Francisco. And, I want to be a weeknight anchor. Okay, well, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania is hiring a weeknight anchor. So in 6th grade...
pack all of you guys up?
Oh, yeah, they didn't blink an eye. So myself and my younger brother, my younger sister. And I got to the point where I knew the look on my mom's face when she walked into my bedroom, we were moving again. That's how many times we moved. But she came in and said, we're going to Pittsburgh. And that was, upheaval. I was in Pittsburgh for 7th and 8th grade. And then what he never realized, and I don't think he still to this day realizes that he does weekend news. I don't want to out the guy, but he does weekend news. And he and my mom have been divorced for about 20 years. But he does weekend news in a medium-sized market. But this is a guy who was in L.A., Philadelphia, weeknight anchor in Sacramento and San Diego. Super successful guy, but always jumped around and never learned that when you go for the biggest job, most likely you're going to a station that's in trouble. There are very few stations that hire weeknight talent, weeknight anchors from outside of the market, successful stations. This is a good example of this place here. When John became our primary anchor here, he was from inside. If John wants to retire in 15 years or whatever, I'll be here. And same thing with the morning. You promote from within. You have solid people who are ready to go and do what they do. And so he was always the guy who was hired by, I'm not going to name drop any of our competition, but say a weaker competition that would grab somebody from out of the market and pull them in because they're looking for ratings.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work that way. It doesn't happen that you bring somebody in. I mean, every once in a while, but it's like going to Vegas and putting $100 on roulette on green. There's 2 green slots and however many of the black and red slots.
And I don't like Vegas.
Yeah, it's a gamble. It's a big gamble. So I don't know how I got into this. But
you are a pistol tonight, says Lisa.
Oh, yeah. So he, pulled us all over the country. And so in the back of my mind, I thought to myself, I will never get into a business where I have to pull my family around so much. And it's so cutthroat in what they do and the way they fire people and the way they treat people. And I said, I'm never going to do that. So I'm in college, and I ended up going to Sacramento State University in Sacramento, and I could have gone other places. The reason I decided to stay in Sacramento was I'd finally lived somewhere for 3 years. The longest I'd ever lived anywhere.
Oh, wow.
From the time I was in 4th grade.
That's so sad.
That's not sad. It made me who I am. I'm telling you, it's like the road that you travel
And
to
you're
get to where
great.
you are.
You're pretty great.
Well, thank you. That's really nice. But it gave me some strengths, but it also screwed me up a little bit. So I'm taking business courses because I thought, I want to do business. I've always enjoyed that.
Did you have something specifically that you thought you might want to do?
No, I wanted to do a business. I wanted to take a business degree, and I'd always heard. As a matter of fact, a guy who worked with my stepdad, who I really respected a lot, a super smart guy, had told me, when you go to college, I recommend you getting a business degree because you can really do almost anything you want. And so I was a year into that, and it was boring me to death.
Tears.
Yeah. And I ended up taking one of the classes, lower division, was a business speech. And I got up in front of the class, and I forget what I did, but it went over really well. I remember sitting there thinking, well, maybe I've got this. Mm-hmm. Maybe this is a talent. And it's something that I talk to my kids about a lot. It's like, you can have a dream and go for it and try to do that thing, but sometimes your talents don't match up. I think you can be equally as happy when you really find your talent and exploit that and go as far as you can with that, because there's something to be said for doing something really, really well. Even if you don't love it, but that's your real talent, because you can be really successful and then enjoy the rest of your life. So I understand people who say, I have a dream to be this, and I'll struggle and do whatever I can to be this one thing. But I also say, keep your eyes open and see what your talents are, and then really go after that talent and exploit that and be the best you can be, follow your talent, and you'll be successful.
I feel like crying.
No. So anyway, again, it's a long, random story.
Troy Hayden's telling me to leave right now, the building.
But so I got into, I switched my major to communications, to media. It was called broadcast news, is what it was called.
Cool.
And so I switched into that. And
we've seen some throwback Thursdays of you, in your college.
Yeah, I anchored for the college station.
Yeah.
That was fun. And actually, the first time I ever met my wife was through that, because we went to the same journalism school in Sacramento.
But it wasn't until you met her there, but I thought you also saw her here.
Well, here's the way that worked. Now we're skipping all over.
Yeah.
But so I'm at Sacramento State. And my wife robbed the cradle. She's just a hair older than me. But I think she was 1 or 2 years ahead of me in school.
Because she's smart.
Well, no, she's a little older. It's okay. So she was the star of Sacramento State's broadcast news upper division thing. So everybody who came into that program sat down and they watched a little video that was done by the current news staff or whatever, and it was hosted by Stephanie Angelo, the future Mrs. Hayden. I remember looking at it and going, she's hot, or something that we said. She's foxy, whatever we said in 1985. And a guy sitting next to me, his name was Guy, and he's like, she's a good friend of mine. He's like, that's Stephanie Angelo. I said, well, you've got to introduce me. So that was like a running joke between us all through school. Where's Stephanie? Where's Stephanie? When are you going to introduce me to Stephanie? Blah, 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 blah. So finally I graduate from college, and I'm working up in Eureka, California. I'm doing reporting and anchoring up there. And Stephanie got hired at the station in Sacramento doing overnight cut-ins type deal. And Guy invited me and said, hey, I'm having a Christmas party. And I'm like, dude, I'm in Eureka. He's like, Stephanie will be there. I'm like, all right, what day is it? So I drove all the way down from Eureka, and that's where I met Stephanie. We met that first night, and she was great. And
so you knew of her for a while before you actually met her.
I knew of her, yeah. And I was following her career, and I knew what she was doing. And then we met. We totally hit it off.
Creepy sweet.
And then and that was it. I mean, we hung out at the party. We had a really good time. I think we exchanged numbers. And then I go back up to Eureka, and that's pretty much it. I'm thinking, well, that was great. I met Stephanie. And it was fun, and she was super foxy, and we hit it off. And then I'd been here for about a year and a half, and then all of a sudden, one day I look over in my boss's office, had a big glass thing on it, and I'm like, that's Stephanie Angelo in there. She was in the boss's office. I had no idea.
And was she applying for a job?
Yeah, she was here on an interview.
Did you go in when she left and said, I can attest to the fact that is a very skilled young lady that should be hired immediately?
No, my boss, at that point in my career, I was like a little pup here. I could never say that. But what I did say was, I said, there's an open desk right next to me if this works out.
Yeah.
If this works out, there's an open desk. I don't know if you knew, Tom. It's right here, right next to me. That's what we got.
I love it. And now, on your desk, you have pictures of Stephanie.
I do. And my girls, and the fruits of our coupling.
Aw, that's a really great show in the UK, by the way. Coupling.
Fruits of our coupling?
No, it's just called Coupling, and it's like Friends. I think Friends actually ripped them off.
Oh, shocker. We do that a lot with the British.
We do. Do you want to watch the story of this old guy?
Yeah.
Or are you over it now? I saved it for you. I played every single package.
Go through some of these comments and see if there's any questions I have to answer, because I hate
Do you have a
ignoring our people.
Do you have pictures of Bill on your desk?
Bill?
Clinton.
No. I'm not answering those questions.
Eureka,
No, Wairika is different from Eureka. Wairika is actually way inland, and well, not way inland,
I've
probably
asked
an
that
hour and a
question
half.
before too, though.
2 hours, yeah. And then Eureka is on the coast. It was awful when I was there, to be honest. It was the economy, the timber economy, which had basically sustained it since the late 1800s, was totally dying. It was, I don't know if all of you remember, but the spotted owl was a big controversy. It just got federally protected, and so they weren't allowed to cut down the trees that were left.
Oh, wow.
Nobody young who had anything going on wanted to be in Eureka, because there was just nothing going on.
That's why you drove 9 hours for a Christmas party.
Well, and yeah, also, and then the Stephanie thing I was telling you about was like I think that was way late when I was in Eureka, but no, it was early when I was in Eureka, because then later on I started dating a woman in Sacramento, and I would like go home to Sacramento all the time, because there's nothing going on in Eureka. And it's like a 5-hour drive. So, yeah, different. But, Humboldt State University is there, but, it's kind of at the time it
wasn't happening.
No.
Not too much Foxy for you.
No Foxy that I saw. Foxy with a beard.
Ryan wants to know who put Red Bull in Troy's coffee maker.
Am I fired up tonight?
Halala, I appreciate hearing the backstory here.
Yeah.
Troy is very talkative tonight. We love Troy.
Good.
Troy. No, we're not going to do Bill Clinton tonight.
You know what? If you want to see me do Bill Clinton, Gio Leo did the best compilation. And
he absolutely did.
At this point, I can't even do it anymore because that compilation is so good.
Oh, no, not Twitter.
It's on YouTube. Go to YouTube.
I'm trying to find it. I have to find it.
Yeah, maybe that's what we should play. Forget the golfer. We should play Gio's Bill Clinton montage.
No recent activity. Oh, there we go.
Troy Clinton montage. There it is right there.
Right here. No.
Only 35 views? Gio, it's time for us to pump this up because this is like one of the funniest videos.
I'm going to start it over.
It encapsulates the Bill Clinton
era. And our friendship. This is some of our greatest moments, our greatest hits.
Preach. Wait, sing, everybody. Now I'm outie. I'm going to have dinner. Preach.
Wait,
sing, everybody.
Is there any justification for you doing the Clinton before you leave?
No, there is not. Now, in my presidency, we did not have nuclear missile talks.
And he's out. He drops the mic right there.
Scene.
I wish
Alfredo, I compliment you and your honesty. I would totally give it to Troy thumbs up.
What about Bill?
I tell you what, when I go see a movie about dinosaurs, it's got to be Jurassic World. No, it was great. So that's why I don't do it anymore. I did it a million times. Here's what you get.
Yeah.
Hello, Phoenix. Great to see you. Great to be in the Valley of the Sun.
I got this motorcycle jacket from your trash bin in college.
I had one like that. I did. I had it black. But this is back in the 80s.
I don't think you meant to sound like Bill Clinton right there. I had that. I had
that jacket. Let me tell you, Kinsey. I wore that jacket on my motorcycle. No, but I did. I would go to
favorite people. I showed you the Geo pictures of you and Troy, or you and Bill. I'm getting you and Bill mixed up now.
Oh, Kinsey, come on now. You can't do that. I am not Troy Hayden.
You are.
Everything else, really, at the end of the day, it's
the
capitalism.
American way.
It is the American way.
You should have done that in Bill Clinton voice. You missed an opportunity.
It is the American way.
Geo Leo is somewhere dying right now.
Good. So, Right.
Giolio, you are such a good boyfriend. Look at Giolio's picture.
Oh, Gio. I knew you were my kind. We go to Legoland, go to Disneyland. The people who are tied with us at 10 o'clock.
Please, your hair looks good there. Read this comment right now.
Gio. All right. They want Bill to do the ask, and I have asked
Your
for
hair looks
a
so
lot,
good there.
My hair does?
Yeah.
People in my time. I have. Please watch the 10 o'clock news tonight. All right, you got it. There's your Gio. That's going to get old. Everybody's going to be like, enough Clinton.
Never.
For God's sakes,
Never.
enough Clinton.
I do pretty good impersonations, but I can't think of one that can compete with that.
There we go.
That was beautiful. That was the
Thank
most
you.
beautiful thing.
Thank you,
Slow
Gio.
clap. Slow clap. Thanks for spending time with us tonight, Troy Hayden.
Great seeing you guys.
So now we're going to go into my John Hook portion of the evening, and by the time John Hook gets back, maybe he'll sit down with us and talk to us about this special edition of Newsmaker. This is about the Ashley Madison scandal as well as Brittany Griner.
Nicole was going to come out and do it, and then I think Nicole got called off.
Yeah, you got, let's see. No, let's see. What's her name, reporter's name?
Danielle.
Danielle.
Right,
Danielle.
yeah.
Yeah.
What tapes are you going to want?
Let's do tape.
I think that was Colleen. Danielle.
Tape
she's
one
cute.
first as I'm talking about this.
Okay.
I'll say hello and then roll the tape. And then we'll go to tape 2.
Okay.
And Brittany Griner will be later. You guys are with Dickinson, right?
Right.
Correct?
So you have to say the firm name a couple times,
Of course.
okay?
And you're 40 years in the business, and you're
30.
Actually, I'm 42.
That's 42.
First tape? Just hello, 2 shot on the wall, or just take it full?
I think take it full on this, because I'm going to do a kind of an intro to this whole thing.
Oh, I understand. You want to show it.
Yeah, I want to show it full.
That's 6, though.
Sunday with Fox 10's John Hook.
Thanks for joining us on Newsmaker Sunday. When it happened, some people chuckled, others cringed. Talking about Ashley Madison. That's the dating website for people who are married who want to have clandestine affairs. Well, Ashley Madison hummed along there for about 6 or 7 or 8 years, but then the bottom fell out when the website was hacked, and it appears now that intimate details of 32 million users are now out there for the public to see. 7 years worth of credit card and payment transaction details. The leak contains everything from email addresses of Ashley Madison users right down to their physical addresses, phone numbers, employers, credit card numbers, a devastating amount of information that can ruin millions of lives, even if the act of using the site rested on shady moral ground. What does this mean out in the real world? We're going to talk about it with 2 noted divorce attorneys, Robert Schwartz and Marlene Pontrelli from Dickinson Wright. They've been on this program before. We were talking about divorce and the book you guys wrote on divorce, kind of a how-to and a guide how to navigate the crazy waters of divorce. But this is something a little bit different, although you talked about it in your last visit here, that this social media stuff is just potential poison, right, Robert?
It's become a kind of a out of control vehicle for people to cruise the net. They think that they have some anonymity. They think that they're going to have some degree of privacy. I think the last time I was here, I was talking about this phenomenon of people hooking up on the social websites with their high school sweethearts or old flames. And, we've actually seen that quite a bit. The level of Ashley Madison, though, has taken this thing to a whole different level than anything we've seen before.
Had you or Marlene seen clients come into your office where Ashley Madison had been part of the equation?
I have not. I've heard about it, but I haven't actually seen it in any of the cases.
Would that suggest that it's maybe not as widespread as we might be led to believe, that this is a pretty small universe of people. I mean, it's 32 million, but
that's a lot of people. But
yeah.
I don't know that that suggests it's not that widespread. I think that it's just been so basically behind the scenes that spouses haven't really realized what was involved.
Have you seen it?
I haven't seen actually clients coming in having used the Ashley Madison website, but we certainly see clients coming in who are, as Robert says, hooking up with individuals with respect to social media sites, Facebook, utilizing the social media to be able to communicate with individuals, versus what we used to see is people would go out to a bar and meet people, and now the internet is becoming that vehicle by which people meet each other or try to rekindle previous relationships with one another.
That's interesting. That may suggest that Ashley Madison, you may not, in this new world we're in with Tinder and all these hookup websites, you may not need an Ashley Madison anymore.
You may not need it, but it's interesting that people feel like they're safe if they utilize a facility or a website like Ashley Madison. So they go on there thinking there's some degree of privacy that they get, and now what Ashley Madison and the hacking has done is it tells you that there isn't any privacy on the internet.
It's really instructive, because even people who said, well, Ashley Madison users had it coming. But then I read an op-ed that I wanted to share a little bit with you and just get your take on it, just as citizens of the world. They said, everyone has something to hide. We all have a right to privacy. Poking the finger at people that appear in Ashley Madison's database isn't anyone's right, even if they've committed a sin by your standard. Now here's the part that got my attention. How would you feel about your Facebook messages being open to the world? The contents of your computer's documents folder, or your Snapchat pictures? Well, that then changes it, right?
Well, it does and it doesn't, because remember, Ashley Madison, their hook was to appeal to a certain segment of the population. I mean, their motto was, life is short, have an affair.
Yes, so, I mean, they made no bones about it. They were very direct.
And so they're appealing to, obviously, married people, or people who are in long-term relationships or relationships. So they're not just appealing to the individual, the single person who's out there looking to meet somebody. I mean, they targeted a specific audience, and apparently they were pretty successful, even if a lot of the names are bogus, as they're claiming. You're still talking about 32 million names or people that supposedly had something to do with the site.
Marlene, when you see clients come in who their partners have been unfaithful, has it been your experience that generally the partner who's been on the other side of it, who's been scorned or has, you know, the affair has happened to, that they're aware something was up?
You know, I think anybody who may have been utilizing even the Ashley Madison website, there probably were some problems in the marriage to begin with, and there are those signs, and you know that there might be something out there, but you're afraid to really either ask or to try to find out the details, because you're hoping that what you don't know won't hurt you. And usually we find that they suspected it. The spouse who wasn't having the affair suspected that something was going on. When you have, you know, 2 phones, when you have credit cards.
I was going to ask you, what are the things that kind of, what are those things, those tangible things that kind of rear their head during this type of behavior?
Well, some of those are, you're out of town a lot, have to work late. You may find that there are duplicate phones. Why do we have 2 phones that we're utilizing? Or they may not even know about a second phone that exists.
This is a Tiger Woods stuff.
Credit card charges that show up that you wonder, what's this charge for? Expenses for hotels, flowers, things that come in that you think, I didn't get them, so where were they being spent? So usually there are some other signs.
You know, the text messages and the email accounts are a treasure trove.
You can get all that as an attorney, right?
Oh, absolutely. We can subpoena from the internet companies, the history of the email accounts. We can get from the cell phone companies not only the records that show the date, the time that the phone call was made, but we can actually get the location, the tower that the phone call came from.
To put somebody in a place.
Oh, and we can actually, and we have experts that we use in some of these cases where we can actually give them the information, and they can sit down and on a map, they will chart for you all the various towers around town So if the spouse thinks, well, the husband's at work and calling me from the office on their cell phone, meantime, they're way across town.
I'm going to digress here. Maybe you can answer a question. You just raised an issue that with this Tom Brady thing. When he destroyed his phone on this Deflategate, are those recoverable even though he destroyed the phone?
To some extent, the text messages can be recoverable. It all depends on how they were erased. If they were done in a very professional way, they probably are not recoverable.
I didn't think we'd get into Deflategate today, but you got my attention on this. I want to go back. I think we did a story with you earlier this week on this whole Ashley Madison. This will bring you up to speed, just for those of you who may be wondering, who's Ashley Madison? Well, here you go.
If you are trying to find and go through and say, I want to see if my spouse is cheating, you probably need to have a conversation with your spouse in the first place.
About 32 million people now learning that the hard way. This after the website Ashley Madison, an online dating site aimed at people looking to have extramarital affairs, was hacked. The hackers have posted things like customer names, login details, and addresses on the dark web, a portion of the internet not easily searched by Google. Now that millions of cheaters may be outed, you might wonder if this will have any effect on the divorce rate. Family law attorney Marlene Pontrelli with the Dickinson Wright law firm says not right away.
I'm not sure if overall it will actually increase divorce rates, but maybe what it does do is it helps bring it out in the open so that where before this was something that people were trying to do without anybody knowing about it.
If divorce is a result of the use of the site, Pontrelli says it will have little legal effect since Arizona is a no-fault state, meaning if a spouse cheats, he or she will not be punished with less property or money.
The way that it might affect divorces is with the fact that if you've spent money for a non-community purpose, like on this website, there may be that possibility to show that there's been some community waste and the ability of one spouse maybe to have a more unequal distribution of assets.
Well, my mom used to say, don't lie because they'll find out the truth anyway. So I want to ask you about this, Marlene. Even people, when you get people into a divorce proceeding, you're representing either side. This Ashley Madison stuff, you could find out about it anyway as an attorney, right?
Exactly. You would find out about it anyway because it shows up on credit card charges. We may ask them under oath. Have you ever been on Match.com, any of the other dating websites? Have you been on Ashley Madison? And all of that is going to come out in the divorce anyway because we might be able to utilize that. It might be relevant in custody issues. It might also be relevant for purposes of community waste. Has the one spouse spent money for a non-community purpose, which Ashley Madison would certainly be a non-community purpose. And so we would get that information in the course of a divorce in any event.
You know, I always thought this kind of thing, let's just say everybody, the parties involved in Ashley Madison who decide to have an affair, it strikes me as incredibly reckless beyond the affair part that you're trusting that this person might not go off the deep end and say, well, I want to have a further relationship and I'm going to call your wife if we don't keep seeing each other or whatever it is, right?
It's the fatal attraction that you have.
You're inviting all kinds of mashugana into your world with this.
Well, and not only that, I mean, all of the diseases that potentially can be transmitted as well. And so it's incredibly reckless to be involved in affairs such as, it's reckless to be involved maybe in affairs at all, but to be involved in these dating websites where you don't know, or fair websites like this one where you really don't know the individuals that you're being involved with, and how reckless that can be and how detrimental that can be to the family as well.
Robert, I was going to ask you.
Let me just add one thing to what Marlene said. You know, just think about, here you go on a website, you meet somebody that you really don't know other than through some posting. You manage to meet up with them, and next thing you know, there's a whole bunch of videotapes floating around of your encounter. And then you get a letter or a phone call or an email that says, you know, if you don't want your wife or kids to see this, maybe you need to do something. And I mean, it's so ill-advised.
Does that happen as well just in the regular world?
Absolutely, it happens in the regular
all the time.
world. Yeah, and that's with people you know and trust.
Now, I'm going to ask you to step away from the divorce lawyer hat and put on just the lawyer hat. 2 Canadian firms on Friday filed $500 million class action lawsuits against the company that runs Ashley Madison after the group's data was breached. 30-some million members were exposed. They're saying that that this was reckless on the part of the company to ever allow or have this information come out because of a hack, and they're seeking damages. Is that going to bear fruit or not?
Well, first of all, I haven't seen their sign-up documents, but I'm assuming that they do. The only way people are going to sign up for these sites is with some assurance of privacy and anonymity. So if that's the case, sure, I think there is a very viable claim for them not having proper firewalls or other protections in place. I mean, if memory serves, Target got hacked.
Right.
And I think Target wound up settling with the people who got hacked.
So a hack is not an act of God. It's not something where the company goes, hey, look, we did everything we could and these guys still got in. That's not good enough.
I'm not an expert in it, but I do believe that there are measures that can be taken to protect any site against anything. But then on the other hand, now you read the IRS got hacked, that
Right.
The Defense Department got hacked, the government's been hacked. So the question is, did they take reasonable steps that a reasonable company would take to protect,
that will be the defense,
to protect these people? And if somebody decides, hey, they did everything that they reasonably could do, nobody could anticipate this level of sophistication, then they probably won't be liable. But it's a factual question.
We'll leave it there for now. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back with Robert Schwartz and Marlene Pontrelli. They are divorce attorneys with Dickinson Wright. We're also later in the program going to talk about this Brittany Griner, the Mercury star, her divorce proceedings with her partner of just about a month, Glory Johnson. And she is pregnant, Glory Johnson, as you know, and this raises all kinds of interesting legal questions. But because they're a same-sex couple, are the legal issues any different than a heterosexual couple? We'll talk about that and more when we come back on Newsmaker Sunday. Most of the time, right? That they, it wouldn't be, but 30.
Yes.
You guys are pretty.
Need to have.
I would think it'd be women in the workplace. Back with divorce attorneys Robert Schwartz and Marlene Pontrelli of the firm Dickinson Wright. They've been at this. Robert's been at it for more than 40 years. Marlene, you've been at this for more than
30.
30.
Yes.
You guys have pretty much seen it all. However, in this last, what would you say, last 7, 8 years, all of the social media stuff, Ashley Madison, you've gotten a whole new dynamic in this now.
That's true. I mean, the way people used to meet before is, remember, you would place those personal ads in the newspaper and read the newspaper.
New Times had the back page, right.
Or, then you would go out to bars or you'd go out to minglings with individuals, and now you have it right in your own house that you can meet people through the internet. And so having that social media outlet has greatly increased the ability for people to meet each other, people to have affairs, people to do things that we would never, ever have seen 30 years ago.
One of the things I didn't talk to you about is in this Ashley Madison data breach, hacking 32 million subscribers to the cheating website. Robert, because we're a no-fault state in Arizona, first of all, describe what no fault means when it comes to divorce. And is there anything in this Ashley Madison, if it came up in one of your cases, that would tip the scales in favor of one side or the other?
All right, well, so no fault. Until 1973, Arizona was a fault state. What that means, and there are still several states in the country that are fault states. So what that means is that in order to obtain a divorce, you have to have a ground. And the ground has to be either physical cruelty, mental cruelty, abandonment. So there needs to be some basis for the divorce. In Arizona and many of the other states, there is no fault required now. So what that means is all you have to allege is that the marriage is broken. In our state, it's called irretrievably broken. I don't want to be married anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's
one side or both.
One side or both. And actually, if there's a little twist in the law. If somebody alleges that the marriage is broken and the other spouse doesn't believe it, you could actually ask for a trial, not to a jury, but to the judge on that issue. You almost never, ever see it, but in 42 years I have done it, where you go to court and you claim to the judge, you know what, we may be having problems, but I don't really think our marriage is broken. I think we can salvage it, and I think we should stay together. It's very difficult to prove to a judge, but you could do it.
Wow, I was not aware that was a possibility.
Yeah, it is possible. I mean, you never see it. But so it's a fait accompli generally that if one party wants a divorce, they're going to get it.
So, in the case of Ashley Madison, if that were found out, that a spouse was cheating on Ashley Madison and they were dividing up community property or spousal support or support for the kids, could something like that that's egregious where, you know, it doesn't look good for the party that engaged in it, does that tip the scales or not?
Well, remember, judges are people. Judges are human beings, and even though they're supposed to be totally impartial, sometimes they're not that impartial. And the only time that we can bring up that kind of information in a case, because it is no fault, would be if it goes to something like what Marlene referred to before, waste. So what is waste? Well, waste is, you know, Ashley Madison is pretty expensive. From what I've read, I mean, there were people who were spending thousands and thousands of dollars to stay on this website.
And if it's community property, that's not just the man's who's cheating, it's his wife's money too.
50 cents of every one of those dollars belongs to the other spouse.
Right.
So, yeah, that's an issue. The other thing is, when it comes to custody sometimes, if somebody is supposed to be with the kids, but yet, you know, they've dumped them off on a babysitter or put them in daycare to run around and meet with somebody on the side, that can be an issue. It can also be a judgment issue. I mean, what kinds of things has somebody been exposed to? Lastly, there is something called spousal torts. And so just for instance, and we have had cases like this over the years, one spouse gives the other spouse a venereal disease, herpes or something else. Well, you know,
damages.
And Ashley Madison could come into play.
Right.
Who have you been with?
Exactly.
You know, the wife comes in the office and says, I don't know where I got this. And now you find out that the husband was on the website and you track down all the people that he had to communicate with.
Judge wouldn't look very kindly on that. I want to get to the Brittany Griner, the Phoenix Mercury star, in a same-sex marriage for only 30 days with another WNBA star, Glory Johnson. Let's just take you back, and then I want to get your take on this, how the law views a same-sex divorce. Take a look.
You understand that Ms. Johnson is indicating that she needs $20,000 in spousal maintenance for a 28-day marriage. Are you asking the court to deny that request?
Yes.
WNBA star Brittany Griner spent the afternoon not on the basketball court, but in divorce court. She doesn't believe her soon-to-be ex-wife, Glory Johnson, needs $20,000 a month. Johnson testified over the phone as to why she does need that amount.
The $20,000 you requested, was that fairly typical for how much the two of you would spend on a month-to-month basis?
Yes, that's pretty much what we both would spend monthly. Sometimes it would be more.
For food, you've indicated that you need $7,214.29 for food per month.
Per month.
And that's solely for you?
This is for me, and sometimes I cook for my sisters as well.
And you've also indicated that you need $6,000 a month for higher help, correct?
That is correct.
Johnson regularly posts updates about her pregnancy on Twitter. She says she can't play basketball and earn income because she's pregnant with twins and her doctor has declared it high risk. The babies are due February 1st. She's asking for temporary spousal support until the start of the next WNBA season.
Would you have $20,000 a month from your income at the WNBA to pay her?
No.
Okay.
Okay, this is a whole can of worms. It is with same-sex marriage rulings across the country. This is now, you know, very much in the queue. What do you do about divorces? Is it seen the same under the law? Is it?
It's absolutely the same now.
No difference.
No difference. We had a prohibition for a long period of time on our book saying that you could not, those marriages were void, the same-sex marriages. Of course, the U.S. Supreme Court has overruled that for all states. So now same-sex marriages are treated just like any other marriage. If you have a same-sex couple, we go in and we determine custody, spousal maintenance, division of property, exactly the same.
Even if there's this artificial insemination business that goes on to have kids, because the other person is not biologically part of that mix.
That's an interesting issue. You know, the law really hasn't totally caught up with society. And in this area, I think there's going to be a lot of law that needs to be made. But in this Brittany Griner situation, I mean, I don't know anything about the details or the real facts, but, you know, assuming that she got pregnant with the consent of her spouse, and assuming that they both understood that, you know, I'm going to carry the child and the other person is going to be a participating parent, well, then it's no different than any heterosexual relationship.
How about the fact that they were married for only, I think it was 22 or 32 days?
Well, that won't affect child support or child custody, but that will definitely affect spousal maintenance. The claim she's making for $20,000 a month. I mean, I don't want to speculate too much, but I would really be shocked if any judge was going to order that type of support for a less than a 1-month marriage.
Do you agree?
I would agree. We have certain standards within Arizona that you have to meet in order to qualify for spousal maintenance, and 28 days of a marriage is really not the kind of long-term marriage that we're looking at to provide support for.
That is really interesting. We're back with Robert Schwartz and Marlene Pontrelli from Dickinson Wright, noted divorce attorneys. Back in a moment on Newsmaker Sunday. Some final thoughts. Moments I want to get from each of you.
Towards your
Newsmaker. Final minute of Newsmaker Sunday with Robert Schwartz and Marlene Pontrelli, noted defense attorneys in town with Dickinson Wright.
Divorce lawyers.
Did I say defense? I said defense again. I always want to say that. It just rolls off the tongue.
Well, what we do can be criminal sometimes.
Right.
Well, and you know, you really do take a defensive attitude towards your clients in a divorce, so
Right.
I think you probably have pegged it correctly.
Final moments I want to get from each of you, just about 20 seconds. What's the lesson in Ashley Madison, Robert?
If people think that there's anything such as privacy, they are delusional. There is no such thing as privacy any longer. Anything you put on the internet is there forever. It's not going to go away. It's not going to be deleted, even if someone tells you it's going to be deleted.
And discoverable.
And it is discoverable.
Marlene, final thoughts, because we're in a changing world right now.
Same thing. If you think you're going to have an affair and you're doing it over the internet and you're meeting someone that way, there's really no difference in terms of your lack of privacy than if you went down the street and tried to meet somebody that way as well.
No different, except it's just easier.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And it's documented.
Yes. Thank you both. Great to see you again. Thank you for your becoming regulars on Newsmaker Sunday. We'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.
So that was really interesting. Hook had some really great topics on his Newsmaker this Sunday. And if you, do you recognize that right there? AZ AM 4:30 to 10. That's what that is. And I'm sure you knew that. Let's see here. That looks a little long. Let's see if this is shorter. Yeah, wow. What I have here is a religious liberty rally from Ted Cruz that I am going to play. I look forward to your commentary in the chat room.
Let's see those signs, everybody. Show us those signs. Show us the support. Chasing after this world makes me tired.
I'm going to keep the volume low until we start speaking. You know those copyright issues I deal with on the regular.
God bless the great state of Iowa. You know, the Word tells us where two or more are gathered in his name, he will be with us. What an incredible gathering this is from across this state. How honored and humbled I am to be standing with so many patriots here in this room and with so many heroes who have gathered to tell us their tale of courage. You know, this nation we love, is unique in the annals of the history of the world. We are a nation that was founded by men and women fleeing religious oppression, fleeing kings and monarchs who would oppress them, who would tell them who you may worship and who you may not. And men and women fled from all over the world to come to the New World, to seek out a land where every one of us could worship the Lord God Almighty with all of our hearts, minds, and souls, free of the government getting in the way. Our nation was founded with a bloody revolution. A bloody revolution that, under ordinary reason, had no business succeeding. A hapless group of colonists declared war on the mightiest army on the planet. And yet, with God's providential blessing, America prevailed. But there was a second revolution, a revolution more important than the revolution fought with guns and bayonets. The far more important revolution was the revolution of ideas. For millennia, man had been told that our rights come from kings and queens, handed down like crumbs, by grace of the monarch to be taken away by the whim of the monarch. Our country began with a fundamentally different proposition, that our rights do not come from government, they come from Almighty God. As the Declaration put it so powerfully, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed, not by a king, not by a queen, not even by a president. They are endowed by their Creator. With certain unalienable rights, and that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. With those words, this nation sprung into existence. There is a reason why the Bill of Rights, the very first protection in the very first amendment of the Bill of Rights, is the freedom of religion. If we cannot worship God, if we cannot live according to our faith and our dictates, all other liberties fade away. You know, Steve talked about the Ten Commandments case in Texas. Ten Commandments case in Texas concerned a monument that had stood there since 1961. Was erected, stood there for decades, disturbing nobody on the state capitol grounds, until an individual plaintiff, an atheist, a homeless man, walked past the monument and decided it offended him. And he filed a lawsuit seeking to tear down that monument. When that case went to the United States Supreme Court, when we argued that case, does anyone here know how many times in the courtroom of the United States Supreme Court the image of the Ten Commandments appears? 43 times. That's very good. "40 times the Ten Commandments are on the brass gates on the side of the courtroom. When you walk out of the courtroom, there are two large wooden doors, and on those wooden doors are two more images of the Ten Commandments. You cannot walk without seeing the Ten Commandments directly in front of you. And those justices, when they heard the oral argument, right above their left shoulder, carved into the frieze, was Moses holding the Ten Commandments, looking down upon them. Now, we won that case. But we won it 5-4. 4 justices were willing to order the state of Texas tear down that monument that has stood on the state capitol grounds since 1961. We're one justice away. You want to know what this election is about? We are one justice away from the Supreme Court saying, every image of God shall be torn down. Thus saith man. You know, Kelly Shackelford talked about the Mojave Desert Veterans Memorial case. A lone white Latin cross, 7 feet tall, erected to honor the men and women who lost their lives in World War I. Once again, a plaintiff, the ACLU, came and sued. The plaintiff said, the image of a cross cannot be seen on federal land. Here in Iowa, there's litigation concerning exactly that today. I will say this, the plaintiffs were right on one thing. The cross has power. I'll tell you, it was humbling, it was moving, it was incredible to represent 3 million veterans standing before the Supreme Court, and we won that case also. But once again, it was 5-4. 4 justices were willing to say this monument to our veterans must be torn to the ground. Anyone who's visited Arlington Cemetery and seen row after row of tombstone with a cross or Star of David, honoring our soldiers who gave the ultimate sacrifice, we're one justice away from the Supreme Court saying we must tear those down. And you know, I have to say, these threats have been growing. They have been growing for decades. But never have the threats been greater to religious liberty than they are right now and here today. You know, many in the media say these threats don't exist. They're not real. Well, the purpose of this gathering is to put a name and a face to these heroes. The purpose of this evening is to tell their stories. You know, there's a reason Jesus spoke in parables. Because that's how we understand. That's what touches our heart. That's what moves us. So it is my hope that all of us gathered here today, all of the home parties, all of the churches that are watching online, that believers across this country will come to know and love these ordinary men and women who were living their lives. They didn't ask for conflict. They didn't ask for confrontation. And the government came after them and said, choose between your faith and obedience to government power. And they said, I follow a higher power, and that is God Almighty. And so in telling these stories, I want to start with one that many of you know already. 2 residents of Iowa, Iowa's own Dick and Betty Odgaard. From Grimes, Iowa. They are an incredible couple, a couple I've gotten to know quite well. And I want to start simply by playing a video, and then we're going to invite at the same time, Dick and Betty are going to come to the stage, and we're going to have an opportunity to have a conversation. But let's start the video. Well, I'm here with Dick and Betty Odgaard, and we're talking about their incredible journey fighting to defend religious liberty. I'll tell you, Dick and Betty inspire me. And I am thrilled to have the chance just to share their story. So tell us about this church we're in right now. When did you open it up to hosting weddings?
In 2008.
2008.
Right. We had beautiful weddings in here for quite a few years, and they're just gorgeous in here. You can see the ambiance.
And I guess you'd sort of naturally have the flower business would become
exactly
part of it, and then catering
for the
too.
reception, we would do the food as well. Yes. So, and then in 2009, the Iowa law changed to include same-sex weddings. So then, in August of 2013, these two gentlemen came in, and Dick was the one who had to deliver the bad news, and they left. We didn't know. The very next day, I was on a Sunday, we got the news that they were going to probably sue.
I guess they filed a complaint the day after.
Yes.
Right. And of course it went viral.
It was devastating to hear that we were bigots, we were homophobes, we were haters.
Because you declined to allow this church that you own.
Yes.
To be used to host a wedding that's contrary to your faith.
I just kept thinking, they don't know us. How can they be calling us all these horrible, horrible things when they don't know what's in our hearts? We have no hatred toward gay people.
So you had been, for a number of years, hosting weddings in this historic church. And as a result of this litigation proceedings, you stopped hosting any weddings at all.
Right. We didn't have a choice.
Right.
Yeah.
And that has been quite painful. And as a result of that, the business has declined. I mean, we just can't support it. So by the end of August, we'll be shutting our doors.
And that is, well, you can understand.
Well, I'll tell you, our country was founded by people who risked everything for religious liberty, free of the government getting in the way. And I want to thank both of you, number one, for taking a stand, but number two, for telling your story. Your story is powerful. Your story is inspirational. It inspires me.
And what we hope we can do is try to change the course as best we can in the years we have left.
Well, thank you for your courage. And thank you for your conviction.
It's so nice having you.
Thank you, Dick. Dick and Betty Odgaard. Betty, Dick, thank you for the courage of your convictions. Thank you for telling your story. Let me ask you, why did you first begin hosting weddings in the church that the two of you own?
We love weddings. We loved that business. Loved to do the flowers, and we had a restaurant, and we had everything all in one location. We had some beautiful events.
And tell all of us what your faith means to you.
Everything. It goes to the core of our being, how we live our life.
When you first found out you were being sued, how did that impact the two of you?
Well, the whole event was devastating. Personally, it brought me down. I knew that the Gertz house would never be the same. And it was devastating.
Let me ask you what a cynic, what a skeptical person, what a secular person might say. Which is, why didn't you just give in? Why didn't you just agree to allow the same-sex wedding to be celebrated in the Gertz house?
We could not celebrate a sin. We could not take part in what we believe is a sin.
Well, I suppose the media would say it's just an easy thing to roll over and accept it, to embrace it, to say it's right. And yet your faith wouldn't allow you to do that.
Of course not.
So the litigation went on for 18 months. And then you personally paid $5,000 to settle the matter. And has there been another wedding in the Gertz house since then?
No.
Our last wedding was November of last year. We simply had to get out of the business. We're at risk. It was well publicized what our faith was, or what our faith is, and we just could not take the risk and put our employees in that wedge.
And then earlier this month, what that means to you to close this business hosting weddings that you loved so much. Tell us what that means to the two.
This was my passion. This was our passion. We had worked for 13 and a half years to build this business, and we lived there 6 days a week and just loved it. So it's very difficult to close the doors and walk away. It's hard to pack up.
It looks much different preparing for an auction than it does preparing for a wedding.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at today.
So has that auction occurred yet? Or?
October 3rd. Y'all come.
And you had a number of employees that worked for you in the flower business and the catering business and all of the businesses that helped host these weddings.
Exactly.
What happened to your employees?
They have to look elsewhere.
So the consequence of this, you've been driven out of business.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Your employees have lost their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And tell me about the public reaction.
Confusing, actually. We had a lot of supporters, and we cherish those folks. The interesting part about it is that many of those supporters didn't want to support us publicly. They didn't want to be seen supporting us out of fear of reprisal. I don't know. Have to talk to those folks. So that hurt. All of a sudden, we learned more about people than what we thought we knew.
Well, and I know a lot of ugliness and vitriol was directed at the two of you.
Unbelievable.
And that wasn't easy.
No. Never had experienced anything like that before. Some people are familiar with the words and expressions that come after you, but this was brand new to us, and it really took us by surprise. To be called a hater and a bigot, just overnight you become something you don't recognize yourself.
Well, and I know the terms that are used by those attacking you, both the political activists and also many in the media, attempt to characterize you and me and all of us as somehow intolerant. And yet, what is the tolerance that has been demonstrated to you for following a biblical teaching that marriage is one man and one woman? These two men who wanted to get married, there were other facilities where they could do that. Is that correct?
Of course.
But they wanted it in your church for you to celebrate their union.
That's right.
Let me say something to the two of you. I know this has been a very hard journey. I know Betty in particular, this has been
Make me
difficult.
cry.
I'm not going to. But I want to say something. Scripture tells us that God has ordered our steps.
Oh, amen.
And I will tell you, I'm convinced you have gone down this journey. You have endured the pain. You have endured the attacks. You have endured the hatred. Precisely to put you where you are here today for such a time as this.
I agree.
You know, Dick, you talked about not knowing where your friends are. Well, let me point out there are 3,000 Iowans here with me today. Thank you. And there are church groups and home groups all across Iowa, all across the country. There are believers lifting you up in prayer. And let me tell you, your faith, your courage, they inspire every one of us to stand with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, God bless you.
Gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Brian English.
The Oatgarts are a treasure here in Iowa. When the government said, you will comply and you will violate your religious convictions, they said no. And we're proud of them. But they're not alone, unfortunately, in being put into that situation. And tonight we're going to meet some other folks who have been in a similar situation. And the person that's going to visit with them is a good friend of mine that I'd like to introduce to you tonight. He's a man that has an amazing ability to communicate biblical truth and do it in a way that cuts through the noise of our environment, our society, and he does it in an environment that is often very hostile to the gospel. And so I'd like for you to welcome to the stage this evening a good friend, another treasure here in the state of Iowa, Steve Dace.
And I think we're going to try to find some...
Fired.
I know Ted Cruz speaks again. And this is really, we're showing him because he's a political candidate. So let's get back to Ted Cruz.
Is my hope.
Famous Kinsey, fast forward.
Not the political parties, not the polls, but so help me God. And that's why I'm going to ask you to join me in doing everything we can these next to see that he has the same opportunity to fight in the executive branch, in the White House, that he has shown both in the judicial and legislative branches in the U.S. Senate and before the U.S. Supreme Court. And let's make him the next President of the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, Senator Ted Cruz.
You were Praise fire, God.
You did good. You did good.
What incredible, powerful, moving testimonies. It is my hope that every man and woman in Iowa and that every man and woman across this country listen to those stories. Listen to those stories. Understand these threats are not imagined. They're not made up. These are real people leading real lives who found themselves facing persecution simply for living out their faith. There is a war on faith in America today. In our lifetimes, did we ever imagine that in the land of the free and the home of the brave, we would be witnessing our government persecute its citizens for their faiths? We are blessed today to be in the presence of heroes who serve as an example to all of us of what it means to sacrifice for the kingdom. Heroes who have suffered for living out their faith and their personal convictions. Their stories are real and they're personal. Right here in Iowa, Dick and Betty Odegaard, forced to close down their wedding chapel because of their beliefs in the scriptural teachings of marriage. And in Washington, Barronelle Stutzman faced the same consequence for her courage after she and her flower shop had been sued. Aaron and Melissa Klein, their bakery in Oregon, and Blade Adamson's t-shirt business in Kentucky. Atlanta Fire Chief Kelvin Cochran, what a vision for God. And Senior Master Sergeant Philip Monk, who both, after lifetimes of service, were forced to depart their stations because of their faith. As Aaron Klein has said so powerfully, my fight in this situation is religious freedom. It is the ability to live and work by the dictates of my faith without being punished by the government, and all Americans should be free to do that. Think of the stories on this stage. These are people for whom right and truth will always mean more than going along to get along or looking the other way when right is replaced with what is wrong. These heroes have boldly resisted the state encroaching on their First Amendment rights. Back. Elites' war on faith. As have other heroes across the country, like the Little Sisters of the Poor, who have stood for faith, although the federal government is litigating against this Catholic charity to force nuns to pay for abortion-inducing drugs and others. Is it any surprise that the federal government we have today would use Obamacare to assault their constitutional rights? And regulations about what government were involved in that process, what emails were sent, what outside groups making the decision that the federal is now religious liberty rights of our citizens. We are seeing today an unprecedented assault on freedom, on faith, and especially on life and marriage. I don't have to remind anyone here of the atrocities committed each and every day by Planned Parenthood. These videos that have been made public make vivid what we already knew, that those who support them have demonstrated an utter disregard for human life. Innocent life should not be up for debate. An innocent life should not be treated as a business transaction. Selling the body parts of unborn children is a federal crime that carries with it 10 years in prison. And if I am elected president, I will instruct the U.S. Department of Justice to open an investigation into Planned Parenthood and prosecute any criminal action. Life is a precious gift from God. As Thomas Jefferson proclaimed, the God who gave us life gave us liberty. Once the government can take away the right to life, it can take away anything, even marriage. Just a few months ago, I appreciate your expressing your First Amendment rights, but the rule of law I appreciate each of these individuals. I appreciate each of these individuals. Sir, this is not a town hall. You're welcome to come to a town hall, and I will happily answer your question. Tonight, we're focusing on religious liberty. just a few months ago, we lived through the most tragic Supreme Court decision since Roe versus Wade. 5 black-robed lawyers attempted to redefine marriage for all 50 states. Justice Scalia wrote in his dissent, "The Supreme Court of the United States has descended from the disciplined legal reasoning of John Marshall and Joseph Story to the mystical aphorisms of the fortune cookie. The fortune cookie rules and the moral truths that have been evident to every civilization in recorded history have become declared obsolete." During the oral argument, we witnessed a frightening, although clarifying, exchange. Justice Samuel Alito asked the United States Solicitor General whether a university's tax-exempt status could be revoked, quote, if it opposed same-sex marriage. The Solicitor General's response was not reassuring. Quote, "I don't deny that, Justice Alito. It is going to be an issue. The tax-exempt status of Christian universities, of Christian grade schools, of Christian charities, and even of the church itself is, quote, going to be an issue because a federal ruling that denies the definition of marriage as the union of one man and one woman could easily be used as a pretext to prosecute and persecute anyone who believes in the scriptural teaching and biblical understanding of marriage." You listen to these incredible, brave stories up here and you wonder, is the next victim of persecution your pastor standing at the pulpit on Sunday morning? Is it the grade school that your little girls go to? Is it the charity where you volunteer your time at a crisis pregnancy center? We have descended from an attack on life to marriage, and now from marriage to religious liberty. Because it's not enough for these advocates to tear down marriage. Now the Washington elites want to silence those who believe in the biblical definition of marriage. Their goal is to keep people of faith from being able to live by the dictates of their conscience and to freely express their beliefs. The tactic we have heard over and over again is to bully people of faith into silence. How many of these heroes told stories of people saying, "I'm with you, but only in secret, because I cannot stand the condemnation that comes if I stand with you in the light of day"? Religious freedom is and always has been central to the American experience. It cuts across class lines, racial lines, ethnic lines, party lines. It unifies us. It is who we are as an American people. I'm reminded of a line from the movie The Usual Suspects. The greatest trick the devil ever played was to convince the world he didn't exist. I will suggest a corollary. The greatest trick the left has ever played is to convince conservatives that Americans don't share our values. America is and remains a center-right country. We are and remain a country built on Judeo-Christian values. That is who the American people are. we here today must renew our resolve to protect our God-given rights from all of those eager to try to take them away. We gather today here in the heartland of America to take a stand against religious bigotry and intolerance, and for those brave heroes who have lost their livelihoods and their positions of honor by standing for faith. This rally is a chance to stand for freedom and for the idea that rights don't come from black-robed lawyers or from politicians in Washington. They come from God. It is this understanding, it is this revelation that has made America an exceptional nation, and indeed the exceptional nation in the history of the world. Now is the time for each of us to ask for the courage of Daniel and Esther and Jeremiah. This is about freedom-loving people of faith versus those who want to silence our faith and take away our freedom. History shows us that in order to gain control of the people, you must first destroy their moral fiber, destroy their faith. But what scares the extremists the most is that there are more of us than there are of them. You have heard tonight of two tremendous groups, the Liberty Institute and the Alliance Defending Freedom. Two groups I have been proud to volunteer to work with, to support for many, many decades. And let me tell you, these groups, if you are finding yourself persecuted for your faith, these groups exist to defend our First Amendment rights, our religious liberty. They have lawyers on call that will come often and represent you for free because they believe and understand if we lose our religious liberty, we lose every freedom in America. Many of you know my father, Raphael, is a pastor. He saw freedom taken away in Cuba, and it breaks his heart to see the same thing happening in America. My father travels around the country. He's 76 years old, and he's on the road 7 days a week with the energy of a teenager. And he delivers a tough message, especially to fellow pastors. And that he stands and addresses pastors and tells them, if you look at the plight of the nation, no one bears more responsibility than the pastors. If the flock stumbles in a ditch, you don't blame the sheep. You blame the shepherd. In this country right now, there are roughly 90 million evangelical Christians. In the last election, 54 million evangelicals stayed home. 54 million. You wonder why we have a federal government that comes after our free speech rights, that comes after our religious liberty, that comes after life, that comes after marriage, that comes after our values. It is because 54 million evangelical Christians stayed home. Well, I'm here to tell you, we will stay home no longer. I'd like to ask every pastor who is here with us today to please stand. Thank you. Thank you for your leaderships. Thank you for standing for faith. Thank you for the impact you're making in your congregation, in your community, standing up together, helping all of us awaken the body of Christ to restore this nation. We are building an alliance of pastors with a pastor and faith leader in each of the 99 counties across the state of Iowa. Together, we will stand up and we will show up. We are a self-governing people and we will defend our liberty. We will not be shut out because we still hold truths to be self-evident. We will not be silent. We will not take court rulings as a mandate to forget our faith while Washington elites try to force their values upon us. That is why I am so incredibly grateful for the thousands who have come out today, for the home groups and church groups across Iowa and across this country. It gives all of us hope that what has been lost in our nation's capital is alive in the hearts of those who believe. And I give you my solemn word. If I am elected president, on my first day in office, I will instruct the Department of Justice and the IRS and every federal agency in Washington that the persecution of religious liberty ends today. Like the Newsboys' song, God's Not Dead. Which we'll be hearing very soon. Neither is America and her love of freedom and our people's willingness to defend our freedom. A nation willing to subject itself to the tyranny of man's standard is not worthy to be called a free nation. And to show all of us where this can go, we've seen the persecution here at home. We've seen Sergeant Monk's powerful testimony of our soldiers fighting for us who said the real battle was being waged here at home. And yet it is worth remembering that it can still get much, much worse. As horrific as the persecution is growing here at home, Christians across the globe are facing torture and murder, are facing imprisonment. And what I'd like to do now is recognize one more hero. One more hero that I've grown to respect and to admire. The wife of Pastor Saeed Abedini, Name Abedini. welcome.
And that is where I lose my video of Ted Cruz from the Rally for Religious Liberty in Iowa. It is also past 9 o'clock, which means if you are local, you should turn on channel 10 because our 9 o'clock broadcast is currently on. If you're not local, you can head on over to Fox 10 Phoenix and watch our live stream. You should download our app because it's free. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook. We are Fox 10 News Now. I greatly appreciate you spending your Monday evening with me. We will see you again tomorrow at 10 a.m. We broadcast every day, Monday through Friday, I should say. 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. So we will see you again tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you later. I'll see you on the Twitter. Tweet, tweet.